The flickering light from the kerosene lantern cast long shadows across her weathered face as she stared out into the Montana blizzard. Elizabeth Harper, 48 and widowed for 4 long years, had grown accustomed to the isolation of her ranch house, miles from the nearest town. But tonight, something felt different. A knock echoed through the howling wind. A stranger, bleeding and half-frozen, stood on her porch. "Ma'am, please," he rasped, clutching his side. "My truck broke down in the storm. Just need a place to wait it out." She should have turned him away. A woman alone in Big Sky country didn't take risks. Yet those haunted green eyes pulled her in. Little did she know, this night would unearth buried secrets, ignite a forbidden fire, and shatter her world forever. What happens when a mother's quiet grief meets a drifter's dangerous truth? Buckle up, this ride through the snow-swept plains is about to get wild. Elizabeth's hands trembled slightly as she boiled water on the old wood stove, not from the chill seeping through the cracks survived harsher winters than this. It was him. The way he filled the room, broad-shouldered and rugged, like he'd stepped out of one of those old Western tales her late husband used to tell. "Shirt off," she said firmly, avoiding his gaze. "That wound needs tending." Dylan Brooks hesitated, then peeled off the blood-soaked flannel. Her breath hitched at the sight. A graze from what looked like a knife fight, amid a canvas of scars that spoke of bar brawls, rodeos gone wrong, and a life on the run. But it was his steady gaze that unnerved her, making her feel seen for the first time since Michael's accident on the ranch. "You out here by yourself?" he asked, wincing as she applied antiseptic. "For years now," she replied, her voice steady but soft. "Husband died in a tractor rollover. Left me with the land and too many memories." Dylan's jaw clenched. "Sorry to hear that. Me? No family worth mentioning." She wrapped the bandage tight, aware of his warmth, the faint scent of pine and sweat. Silence hung heavy as the storm raged outside, rattling the windows like an angry ghost. They shared a simple meal of venison stew at her scarred oak table, the fire crackling in the hearth. Elizabeth watched him eat careful, alert, like a man who dodged trouble more than once. "What brings a guy like you through a storm like this?" she probed. Dylan set down his fork, eyes narrowing. "Looking for someone. An old buddy from the oil fields up in North Dakota. Have you ever heard of Ryan Harper?" The name hit her like a gut punch. Her fork clattered against the plate. "Ryan? That's my son." Dylan's face paled. "Your son? We rigged together for over a year. Good kid, tough as nails." Tears welled in Elizabeth's eyes. "He left 2 years ago, chasing that black gold dream. Haven't heard a word since." "Is he alive?" Dylan nodded slowly. "Last I saw ya. But we got split during a rough patch crew dispute turned ugly. I got out. He vanished in the chaos." Relief flooded her, mixed with a mother's fury. Without thinking, she reached across the table, her hand finding his. It was rough, calloused from hard labor, but warm alive. "I'll track him down," Dylan promised, his voice low and resolute. "Tell him his mom's waiting." In that moment, something shifted. Gratitude bloomed into something deeper, more perilous. The cabin felt smaller, the air thicker. "The guest room's too drafty," she murmured. "You can bunk by the fire." Dylan agreed, but as she climbed the stairs to her loft, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling. What kind of man felt this pull toward his best friend's mother? The kind who'd been running from his demons too long. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, but Elizabeth stirred to the sound of his breathing below. She descended quietly, finding him stoking the embers. "Coffee," she offered, studying his profile strong, chiseled, the kind that turned heads in small-town bars. As she poured, their fingers brushed, sending a spark up her arm. "Tell me about Ryan," she urged. Dylan's expression softened. "He bragged about you nonstop. Said his mom was the backbone of Montana, the toughest rancher he knew. Planned to strike it rich and buy you out of this isolation." She smiled faintly. That boy always dreamed big. Why didn't he come home? Dylan hesitated. Shame, I think. The field dried up. We lost everything in that fight. He figured he'd failed you. Her heart twisted. Ryan, her sweet, ambitious son, proud like his father, but softer inside. And here was Dylan, harder-edged, carrying the weight of it all. Why are you really searching for him? She pressed. Dylan's eyes darkened. My fault those thugs showed up. Old debts from my rodeo days caught up, bad bets. Worse enemies. Ryan got dragged in. The confession hung between them, raw and unfiltered. She should have recoiled, but instead, she felt drawn closer. You're in danger now. Always am. Their gazes locked, the room charged with unspoken tension. Why stop here, then? Because Ryan said if anything happened, make sure his mom knew he loved her. And I had to see the woman who raised a guy like him. The words ignited something in Hera, a flush of heat she hadn't felt in years. Let me check that bandage, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Dylan unbuttoned his shirt, exposing those scars again. She didn't pull away when his hands cupped her face. Elizabeth, we can't, but she silenced him, rising to meet his lips. The kiss started soft, exploratory, then exploded into urgent sears of solitude crashing like waves. His hands roamed her back, pulling her close. She melted against him, heart pounding. This was madness. He was her son's age, his friend, a fugitive. Yet in his arms, she felt alive, desired, not just a forgotten widow on a forgotten ranch. Outside, the wind howled fiercer, blanketing the world in white. Dylan would be snowed in another day, at least. They spent the hours in a haze of stolen touches brushing past each other in the kitchen, lingering glances over chores. By evening, the tension snapped. She unearthed a dusty bottle of bourbon from the pantry. Been saving this for something. They sat by the fire, the liquor loosening barriers. Tell me about your husband, Dylan said. Elizabeth sighed. Michael was solid, dependable. Kept the ranch running smooth. She sipped, eyes meeting his. Nothing like you. That a compliment. Maybe. The flames danced in his eyes as he leaned closer. Ever wonder about a different life? One with more fire, less routine. Her pulse raced. The kind that burns everything down or lights it up. Emboldened, she faced him squarely. Dylan Brooks, I've been numb for 4 years. If this is trouble, it's the kind I crave. His restraint shattered. He pulled her into a searing kiss, lifting her effortlessly to the bedroom she'd shared with no one since Michael. What followed was a whirlwind of passion-tender caresses giving way to fierce hunger. He explored her with reverence, awakening sensations she'd buried deep. She arched into him, whispering his name, losing herself in the rhythm of their bodies. It was wrong. Taboo, a mother's betrayal, a friend's sacrilege. But in that storm-bound night, it felt inevitable, electric. They collided again before dawn, slower this time, savoring every gasp, every murmur, knowing it couldn't last. Morning light filtered through frost-laced windows. Dylan dressed quietly, the storm easing. Elizabeth watched from the bed, memorizing his form. I have to go, he said, voice thick with regret. I know. He sat beside her, tracing her cheek. I'll find Ryan. Bring him home if I can. Tears stung her eyes. And us? Don't tell him. Dylan nodded. That's our secret. He kissed her forehead, then rode out on his repaired truck, vanishing into the thawing plains. Elizabeth stood at the window, hand pressed to the glass, feeling the echo of his touch. 3 months later, a letter arrived from a sheriff in Williston, North Dakota. Ryan Harper had perished in a rig explosion. Enclosed was a pouch of Cash's final payout and a note in familiar scrawl. He spoke of you till the end. Said to say he was sorry for not making it back. This is for you to live easily. He loved you. So did I. Sobs racked her as she clutched the letter, mourning her boy, the dreams unlived. But amid the grief, a quiet resolve bloomed. She sold part of the ranch, moved to a cozy home in Bozeman, surrounded by neighbors and life. She never remarried, but she thrived volunteering at the local shelter, riding horses under vast skies. On crisp nights, she'd recall Dylan's embrace, the fire he'd rekindled. No regrets. That forbidden blaze had thawed her soul, proving it's never too late to feel truly alive. What do you think? Was Elizabeth right to give in to that passion, knowing the risks? Or should she have turned Dylan away from the start? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share your stance. Would you chase a moment of fire, even if it meant crossing lines? Let's debate it out. I want to hear your views.